Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English with Ethan. Today, we have a really powerful story in this explainer that's going to help you improve your English and, most importantly, build your confidence. Because look, every fluent English speaker you know was once a beginner. Take Ryan, for example. He lived in a small town and dreamed of getting a good job in a big city. One day, he actually found the perfect job. He smiled when he saw the advertisement, but after reading just one line, his smile completely disappeared. It said, "Good communication skills are required." Ryan became so worried. He knew the grammar rules, he understood English, but whenever he opened his mouth, he just froze. He was terrified people would laugh at him. If you also feel shy while speaking, or feel trapped in this kind of fluency trap, this explainer is exactly for you. So relax, listen carefully, and let's set our main goal for today: building your active speaking confidence.
So why do you freeze when it's time to speak? Ryan used to tell himself, "I know English, I understand English, but I just cannot speak it." It is incredibly frustrating, right? Well, the main culprit here is what we call the translation trap. It's when you try translating every single sentence from your native language into English inside your head right before you speak. Doing that is exhausting, it's so slow, and it inevitably leads to hesitation and panic, mostly because your brain is just working overtime, trying to be a walking dictionary instead of just naturally communicating.
Well, one evening, Ryan met an old teacher in a park. The teacher noticed he looked worried, so Ryan explained everything. The teacher listened carefully and then asked one simple question. "Ryan, how many hours do you practice speaking English every day?" Ryan looked down and muttered, "Almost zero." The teacher just smiled and said, "There is your answer." And this brilliantly illustrates the teacher's next piece of advice. You cannot become a good swimmer by reading books about swimming. You must enter the water. It's so true. Speaking English is exactly the same thing. You must speak every day. It's a physical act built through muscle memory, kind of like riding a bicycle. You can't learn to balance just by reading the manual. You literally have to get on, wobble around a bit, and make mistakes. And that brings us to the crucial difference between passive learning and active practice. We so often get stuck in these passive habits, right? Reading textbooks, watching videos, memorizing grammar rules. And don't get me wrong, those are valuable, but fluency lives in your mouth, not your eyes. To actually cross the bridge to fluency, you absolutely must shift to active practice. That means building muscle memory by speaking out loud and relying on daily repetition. Because vocabulary only becomes truly usable under pressure when you physically speak it out loud. Which leads to this huge mindset shift that completely changed Ryan's thinking. Confidence does not come before practice. Confidence comes because of practice. So many learners just wait around until they feel quote unquote ready to speak. But Ryan realized he had to take action despite being afraid. When he asked what would happen if he made mistakes, his teacher laughed kindly and said, "Mistakes are proof that you are learning." So take the pressure off yourself right now. Your goal is to speak confidently, not perfectly. Okay, let's dive into this, the 15-minute daily routine. You might think you don't have enough time, but consistency always beats marathon study sessions. Here is how you can do it in just 15 minutes a day. Minutes 1 to 3 is your warm-up. Just like Ryan did the very next morning, stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself out loud. Just say, "Good morning, my name is Ryan, today is a wonderful day." Minutes 4 to 7 is shadowing. Play a short clip of a native speaker and just repeat right after them. Then, minutes 8 to 10, vocab and action. Pick 3 new words and use them in your own sentences. Minutes 11 to 13 is answer aloud, where you practice spontaneous speaking by answering simple questions. And finally, minutes 14 and 15 just recap what you talked about. Breaking it down into these tiny, manageable chunks completely removes the pressure of speaking. Moving right along to our next section, your AI conversation partner. Now, you might be thinking, who am I supposed to talk to during this routine? Well, you can actually transform the AI on your phone into a 24/7 speaking partner using these exact prompts. Tell it, act as a native speaker friend. And crucially, tell it to ask one simple question at a time so it doesn't just write you a massive essay. Ask it to help me speak confidently and follow up on my answers naturally. Using the voice mode on these apps gives you a completely natural, out loud conversation that forces you to start thinking directly in English. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is how AI corrects your mistakes without any judgment. When you speak to an AI, you can actually ask it to review your answer for grammar or pronunciation, and it gives you gentle, clear corrections without any of the social embarrassment you might feel with a real person. You can see your mistakes, learn from them, and try again. It's literally the ultimate safe space to wobble on that bicycle without anyone watching.
Next up in this explainer, we are looking at mastering the self-introduction. Introducing yourself is honestly often the scariest part of speaking English, right? Whether it's a networking event or job interview, like the one Ryan was dreaming of, but having a reliable structure really helps. I'd highly recommend you screenshot this framework because it removes the panic by breaking things down into simple building blocks. You start with your greeting and name. Hello, my name is Ryan. Add your location and role. I'm from a small town and work as a developer. Then, your purpose and a personal detail. I'm here to meet new people. In my free time, I love hiking. And finally, the closing. What brings you here today? That last part is magic because it naturally passes the spotlight to the other person. As you practice that, definitely watch out for a few common introduction mistakes. First, overloading biographical details. Honestly, you don't need to recite your entire life history right off the bat. Second, mixing up verb tenses because of nerves. Just keep it simple. Use the present tense for what you do right now. And third, forgetting the purpose line we just talked about. Remember, less is definitely more here. Your goal is just to connect, not to deliver a flawless, dramatic monologue.
All right, to bring this all together, the 30-day speaking challenge. Ryan didn't just read about swimming, right? He jumped in. And now it's time for you to start pedaling. This is a 4-week progression plan to kickstart your habit. In week 1, your focus is just daily speaking. The only goal is to overcome fear and open your mouth. Short answers are totally fine. Week 2, we move to conversation. Have your AI ask follow-up questions so you can give longer answers and build some flow. Week 3, focus on grammar. That's when you start asking the AI for accuracy checks and corrections. And finally, week 4 is fluency. Your goal here is to speak for 1 full minute without stopping. See how that works? Step by step, it safely ramps up the difficulty. So I'll leave you with this provocative question. What will your English sound like in 30 days? If you stay consistent, dedicate just 15 minutes a day, and embrace making mistakes like Ryan did in front of his mirror, you are going to be shocked by your own progress. Every expert was once a beginner who simply never stopped practicing. So take a deep breath, grab your phone, and commit to your first 15 minutes today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see your fluency grow.